Hello and welcome to Brax will let you know, one voice at a time. And today I have very special guests. Do you all care to introduce yourself?
I am Micah. My pronouns are she, her. I'm from Chicago suburbs.
My
Anyone
name's
else?
Astrid. Sorry. My name's Astrid. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Hi, my name is Al. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. I am from Austin, Texas.
Hi, my name is Mayari. I go by they, she pronouns, and I am from San Diego, California.
Hi, my name is Yazzie, and I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm a tattoo artist, and yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Dion Kazis. I'm a Hungarian, Métis, and intercultural tattoo practitioner, professional tattoo artist, and independent scholar. I'm super stoked to be here and to be with all of you here, sharing this place and this space.
Beautiful. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about tattoos and also the art of tattooing, a little bit about its history, as well as existing in the spaces as a tattooed body. As usual, I always start off with a quote, and today's quote is, "If the body is a temple, then tattoos are its stained glass windows." So the first question for you all is, what does having a tattoo mean to you?
Okay, I would like to go. So having a tattoo for me is like very spiritual. I feel like meaningful and holds energy depending on who does it, how it's done, and the value that it holds.
Anyone else? Thank you.
I think for me, it's like when I first started getting tattoos, felt very freeing. It felt like I had control of my body and my identity as a person. I've always felt I suppose, very constricted by how people viewed me, but I felt like, the more I got tattoos, the more I felt like it didn't really matter how people viewed me because they would probably judge me anyway. So that felt really freeing. The more I decided to get more and more tattoos, and then on top of that, deciding to kind of dedicate some portion of my life to tattooing.
Mm-hmm. Mayuri, you have a very unique perspective. I know you mentioned before, but you say you don't have tattoos yet. But I'm also very interested to hear also what a tattoo may mean for you. Even though it's not like attached to your body quite yet, but it's also a very interesting perspective if you mind sharing.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I'll give a little context. So I identify as Filipinx, Filipina, American, and with that, and also like with myself, I was raised Christian, and a lot of Filipinos are Catholic, and so for me, in my household, in my community, for women to get tattoos, it's looked down upon. It's actually looked like there's stigma to it with having a tattoo. And for me, it's been taking me years to unlearn that stigma and it wasn't until college where I saw people like, oh, you, like really good friends of mine, like, oh, you have a tattoo. And like, I like started to realize like, every tattoo doesn't have to have a meaning. Every tattoo doesn't have to, like, it means something different for everyone. And to me, I started to realize like I don't have to ask, why'd you get that tattoo? What does that mean to you? Like people could just do it if they want to. And so for me, because I am still unlearning the stigma, and for me, I I want to, when I get a tattoo, I want it to be something that means something like very meaningful to me because it will be my first tattoo and like I finally got it. I've been waiting so long for this. And so to me, a tattoo is a serious commitment. It's going to be on my body forever. And that's why I've been waiting for so long, because I want, it's gonna be the first one, right? And because I've had so much stigma with, I think also, like, I have a fear of like my mom seeing my tattoos, and like I care a lot about what my mom thinks and what my community thinks, but so that's why I dabble with piercings more, because I can hide them, I can remove them. It's not as permanent. It's not permanent. Like, I could always remove them. But with tattoos, for me, it's a commitment and it's serious. And yeah, but I hope to learn more from all the artists and the people with tattoos.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I also wanted to spotlight Dion and your Black Work project. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it right. And sort of how tattooing has become a way to preserve culture and languages. Do you mind touching on that a bit?
Yeah, for sure. When I think about the work that I do, you ask, what does wearing a tattoo mean for you? And I have many tattoos, but the tattoos that are associated with the ancestral practice, the practice that I reach back into the past, hold those designs in the present for the future. So for me, the creator asks us all one question, and that is, what will you do for the people to be? And for me, my answer for the creator's question is the revival of our ancestral tattooing practice. And so, when we all have an understanding of the colonial project and the things that has done to our ancestors, it has done to us personally, with historic and intergenerational trauma and then present trauma. And so I always say, when I look at my cultural tattoos, those tattoos are a embodiment of my ancestors' resilience. And what I mean by that is, my ancestors had to struggle to continue to exist in a system, in a place that was trying to actually erase them out of existence. So when I look at my cultural tattoos, yes, it may be a mountain, yes, it may be a snake, or a rock, or an eagle, any of those things. But when I read it as the prayers and the tears and the work and the struggle of those ancestors who ensured that I'm here today. So that would be kind of my answer to, what does it wearing a cultural tattoo mean to you? And my Black Work project is, taking ancestral designs, patterns, and motifs and transforming them to a contemporary context. So I do hand poke, skin stitch, and also machine work. So, that's kind of, trying to use my ancestral visual language today to support me. And so I'm not appropriating someone else's culture or someone else's designs.
Awesome.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you for answering. Wishing best of luck with that. That sounds beautiful. I was watching the video. It was really dope. So I wanted to touch a little bit about the history, but I'm not going to go too deep. I just thought it was kind of cool that the word tattoo comes from the Tahitian and Samoan words of tatatau, or tatau, meaning to mark or to tap a mark into the body, which I thought was really dope. And we don't hear much about the roots of words, and I love learning about roots. But yeah, so I wanted to touch a little bit about the history of tattoos, but also bringing it back to the present of how tattoos have been sort of, like you said, erased culturally. And the reason for this talk was not only for us to have this space, but also, I don't know if you all have seen, but I can type in Google like tattoos or on YouTube, and it's all of experiences or stories of white bodies. And sometimes I need or rely on the experience of other people, especially in a system such as this that's been oppressive for generations. And so I wanted to create this safe space for us, as well as hopefully listeners, who are hesitant or who may need to see that body that looks like theirs and be like, oh, that is awesome, or that culture is expressed in tattoos, or that, identity is expressed through tattoos, or that resilience is expressed through tattoos. So I think that's super dope, and I hope that hopefully some of the words resonate with people today. My second question is, how have you noticed tattooing or its art form sort of evolve over the years?
I feel like
Just really quick.
was that the question?
Yeah, but I was going to give a quick backstory really quick. When I was doing some research, it seemed as though like tattooing and its art form in many cultures was a way of social statuses or social ranks, or I don't know, like culture in a way, or like languages. And I feel sort of now it's shifted. I mean, there's still pieces of it for sure here, but the symbolism has become more of a internal resonance rather than like an external, like cultural resonance. Like I have a flower on my arm because it symbolizes like a flower that my mother loved, or I have like a dog on my arm because it symbolized like the dog that I once had, rather than me having a specific tribal print that represents my tribal identity or my tribal existence within the culture. So I don't know if that sort of made sense, but how have you sort of seen that shift, or do you think it's still here, or has it just evolved into a different way of symbolism, if that makes sense?
I feel like in my experience from the clients that I get, people do like, I feel like it has evolved like creatively, but I feel all around like the same meaning of, release and therapy and remembrance. I was going to say that I feel like um, being as though it has evolved creatively, it has turned into more of a work of art, like more so like looking like paintings, and more color and more vibrancy, and it used to be just symbolism and lines, but it evolved into like imagery and storytelling and all those things. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
I did not really pay attention to tattoos that much before I started like getting tattoos. So I can't really compare, but I feel like kind of what Yazzie was saying. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Um, I feel like right now tattooing has become it's sort of an art form. Obviously it's an art form, but just the tattoos that I've seen people do, it's like unbelievable. It's like portraits on people's bodies. And I feel like there's no way that it's always been this intricate. So I feel like as people have gotten more tattoos and as it's become more, well, actually, no, I don't think that. I'm sure it's always been extremely intricate, but I feel like it's evolved and become even more of an art form than it was. Just more
Yeah,
deep.
and it reminds me, I don't know if you all seen the human being that was buried like from ice like thousands of years ago, and it had just like little symbols on it, and they're like, oh, that's like the first person with tattoos, and it's just like little lines and dots, and then it like and then like the other side is like Japan and like the bodysuits that they have and the color and the vibrancy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are like two different
Right.
ways of tattooing, and it's so beautiful. Both are dope, but it's just seeing how um the art has evolved, and also how they have learned to even use the tools to create a whole
Yes.
bodysuit on a body. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. So yeah, I think I'm very interested to see what it's gonna look like years from now.
Yes.
Um, Because I'm like you said, like I've seen portraits, like whole portraits on someone's back, and I'm like, what's next? So I'm very excited to see how tattoos are going to evolve. But yeah, do you all think that we could possibly get back to a way of, and I was talking to a friend recently of how sort of that concept of tattooing has been shifted only because due to colonization and genocide and enslavement, many people have lost their sense of identity and like roots. And so it's like I sort of have to create this symbolism, or I mean, even if you think about African American or Black tattoo artists now who have like the Black Power fist or Black Lives Matter sort of imagery, and so that sort of become a culture. You know what I mean? A culture tattoo, if that makes sense. Because it's not like we have the translations of like ancient African art art forms in a sense. So I don't know. Do you all think that that would sort of come up sometime in the near future, or no? Is it just kind of dead?
I want
Could you oh, sorry. I didn't really get the question.
Oh yeah. Sort of just like, do you think that the symbolism of this tattoo means that I belong to this specific tribe, this specific area of land or area of teaching, or I don't know. Does that make sense? Do you think that that's going to arise again, or do you think that the symbolism of tattoo is going to remain like personal and individual? Like,
think yeah, so I want to respond to both your previous question and this new question. And as someone who doesn't really know the history of like what tattoos used to be and what it is now, like I can only speak for what I've grown up with, right? And so in my head I used to think, oh, tattoos were just, I used to think only like men got tattoos and they only got big tattoos to flex. Um, but as I've become more exposed with different people, different cultures, people from different walks of life, I'm realizing like there are all kinds of tattoos, all different ways. There's so many different ways to get tattoos. And um, I am learning that everyone like tattoos I sorry. I'm like excited to say this because like I feel like tattoos are a way for each individual to express themselves on their bodies. And with what you're saying, Braxton, like with people with Black Lives Matters, people are putting the fist on their body, like that's showing that like this is what matters to our generation right now, to the people who put it on their bodies. That's what matters. And like I think um like I'm excited to see, like, so for me I feel like tattoos um will will be something like on the bodies of people, it's something that matters to them. And and I'm excited to see like what our generation puts on our bodies and like not everyone cares about Black Lives Matter, right? Like the people who do care will have it on their body, people who care about other things will have stuff on their body. And so I'm excited to see, I think that was your question, like what will our generation have on our bodies now? And for me, I actually didn't really care. No, I I personally like going back to like how my culture is very heavily influenced by Catholicism, which is from the colonizer, the Spanish on the Philippines, and like that mentality. I didn't discover until recently that like I'm like Igorot, which is like indigenous culture in the Philippines, and Igorots are very big on tattooing. And like I didn't know this until seeing stuff on Facebook, seeing stuff online, and seeing that there is meat like. And so like going back to what Dion was saying earlier, like there has been erasure with colonization and with and like tattoos are, I don't know, sorry, I'm like rambling, but like I'll just stop now.
No, thank you. It brought me to the point of with the research I was doing. It was saying that in one culture that the women in there had to tattoo their entire like butt black to like show that they were like a woman in their culture. And then also there was I mean, and then it's also up to like the people that's been discovering like what it actually means. Because I don't know how connected they are to the cultures, but there was also people were saying that there are body like marks of women who in the ancient Egyptian times who had tattoos, but they thought that it meant sort of like that they were, I don't want to like prostitutes or that, and I don't know, like, and honestly, it could just mean that she just wanted to get a tattoo of that specific symbol, and that's what it meant. So there could be symbolism and there can't be, and I don't like. It could be because I have a belief that like time is like every like the same, but we obviously always grow. So it could be people who during that time got tattoos because they wanted it to mean a certain thing, or they got tattoos because they wanted to look cool, or like even people who were warriors and got tattoos to symbolize a warrior. And I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know. I think
Um,
that the symbolism is always going to shift depending on the
yeah,
person.
I agree with you. I agree, and I feel like it's always going to evolve because like um, labels, you know, itself was very strict, very restricted. Like you're this, you got this, you're like this, you got a tramp stamp, you're like this. But now it's more so free flowing, depending on the mind of the person or the mindset, um, and the intention. Some people, some people may still have that same traditional thought process of that, and I feel like there's also other people that are breaking barriers and breaking the meanings of the things that people have already created in this society. um, I feel like it's all definitely always going to evolve and become more freer than what it was before, because we're learning what freedom actually is now, and how much of ourselves we can be regardless of whatever was set in stone, you know, from, the past. Like if I was to get a tramp stamp or, a back tat, a lower back tat, like I can, but that doesn't mean I'm a tramp,
Right.
because, I'm not on that mindset. I I feel like I'm more confident in being myself and being okay with someone else talking about me, or saying that or making an assumption of who they think I am. But that's also like their own opinion, and that's okay. If they feel like that, then they feel like that. But for me, it means this.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Thank you. So, do you all ever get nervous about getting a tattoo, and like where does that sort of like fear or resistance stem from? I have been in love with this chess piece, and Astrid knows I've sent them a picture of it. But it's something in me that's like, I don't know, like I don't even know what I'm scared of because I'm like, I already had tattoos. It's just like, I don't know why I won't. And it's not something that I'm rushing because I've been thinking about it for a few like months to a year now. But I guess I'm still hesitant about the work environment, which doesn't make sense because no one's going to see me chat. No one's going to see my chest in the work. And so no, I think that it's a very specific thing that maybe like Black and Brown Indigenous people may go through, even though it's existed within our cultures for so long. Does anyone else have that issue or that problem?
I wanted to say something. I gotta leave in a little bit. But I was gonna say that it you reminded me of clients that come in that are yeah, that they're it's their either first time or something like that, and they're like either scared of the pain or scared of something that happened like a long time ago when they had a tattoo before or something like that, and it kind of traumatized them. Um, I've had a couple people that was about to faint due to that, because of like the mental process that they had going on. And I always stress enough as like, it's you got to like talk to yourself, because we're not just our body. We are spirit. We are outside of ourselves as well, so we can definitely like traumatize ourselves and leave that pain in wherever spot that was, and just bring it back when it's time to feel that pain. And is this woman, And I've been also like trying to figure out what makes people scared or what makes people want to almost faint and stuff like that. Sometimes it's like they haven't had enough water, or they didn't eat, or they just smoke too much, or it could be mental, like to where it's like, oh, the last time I got a tattoo, this guy was just digging in my skin and I just couldn't take it anymore. And like they come to me and my experience with them is totally different and they feel so much better. But it's like after the fact, me telling you like, hey, you got to talk to your body. You have to talk to yourself. You got to figure out why you feel like you're scared of getting this tattoo. Like, what is that specific thing that's stopping you from getting it? And if you feel like, you know, you're too scared of it, your body could shut down because of that traumatic feeling that happened to you. And it's like, if you don't resolve that within yourself, you know, it could be out of your control just because you don't have that connection to your body. Like, hey, it's okay. Like, we're in a whole different place. We're with a whole different artist. You know, this is a new experience. And the fact that person didn't do that, it was a little more traumatizing than it could have been. And then I talked to her about it, and we tried again, and she felt better. And you know, that also goes in other things, like not just tattooing, but just being, you know, pain being afflicted on you, and you pushing it down, bearing it, and not even bringing it up. Like, hey, I was you know, hurt, and you know, this happened, and I accept that it happened, and I know that I'm safe. I'm in a safe place, and I'll be okay no matter what. And yeah, I feel like it definitely has to do like with a mental thing, and just having that relationship with your body and figuring out, hey, like, you know, what's up? Why you feel this way? What's going on? But I have to leave. I'm gonna go practice, and I'm so happy to be able to be a part of this. Thank you for hitting me up. I hope that we can meet in person. And yes, thank you all for being a part of this as well.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you. Best of luck with your performance.
All right. See you later.
Goodbye.
Bye.
To answer your question, because I find this very interesting, out of all of my tattoos that I've gotten, I've never been scared. Like going in, I was never scared that like, oh, you know, it might hurt or anything. I was always excited. And even then when I've felt pain, it's just always came natural to me to like lean into the pain on what it's actually teaching me, rather than like triggering a fear response, so to speak. And you know, because I've been getting tattooed since I was 18, and I've like always have told like my tattoo artist going in. I remember even the first time like I got one behind my ear, and I remember specifically the person tattooing me was trying to make me scared, and I just remember kind of telling him, because it was an older white gentleman, and I come from a town that's like very redneck racist. So being this like little 18-year-old, you know, because I also was like very masculine in high school, letting my masculinity show. So that was always looked down upon as well. So I just felt like it was like him trying to kind of take control over the situation in the space, and I was like, I'm not here for that. And so I just remember telling him like, I've literally like almost died 4 times in my life, so if you're gonna try and tell me that by me getting a little owl on my ear is like gonna be painful, like trust me, I've gotten stabbed in the chest before at the age of 13. Like I just started going off on him and telling him like my experiences with pain, and letting him know like I'm not scared. I came into this knowing that this was gonna, like, I was gonna feel pain, and like, sorry, bitch, I'm taking over. And I think from that experience moving forward, I do like to build relationships with the tattoo artists that I have, and also letting them know like how I tend to prepare for tattoos. You know, so like the week before, I tend to meditate and like really tell myself like, this is what you're getting, this is why you're getting it. reassuring myself. And then the day of, like before we start, I'll tell them like, look, if you ever see me like kind of closing my eyes or I'm just going quiet, that's not because I'm like about to pass out or anything. It's because I'm leaning into the moment of the pain, knowing what's coming up for me and really grounding myself into this situation. And then I'll kind of come back in and start talking. Yeah, that's just been my experience.
Awesome, thank you.
I find it really cool that you kind of took over in that situation. I think that's awesome. I think that's where my fear comes from a lot, and I've been trying to build more relationships with other tattoo artists so that I feel safe going into a space. But I've had a lot of negative interactions, and I mean, not in bad, like they were mean to me or anything like that, but it's always felt very oppressive coming into a space where it's white male dominated, not a woman in sight, not a person that's a not man or queer in sight. And it instantly is very nerve wracking. It does feel a lot of times like they are trying to take control and not trying to create this sort of safe feeling in a place where like I'm kind of giving you all of this control physically over my body to put something beautiful on it. So I guess that's like, to answer the question, that's where a lot of my fear comes from, is just being taken advantage of, or just being disrespected. And, you know, what do? That's your tattoo artist. They have to finish this piece. You can't run away or anything. You've already given them deposit or something like that. So that's been sort of the, like, sort of like the motivation for me to want to solidify a career in tattooing and one day have my own space, so that, you know, I just feel like there aren't enough spaces that are queer and non-man and like person of color dominated. So yeah, so I really love that question. I really commend you for being able to stand up for yourself in that situation.
I want to respond to both of
Thank
you
you.
as someone who has never been to a tattoo shop to get a tattoo. I find it so disheartening to hear that like walking into a tattoo shop, it's mostly male dominated, and um, there are times where like some of y'all don't feel safe, and like you're literally being so vulnerable with your body and having someone put something permanent on you. I think like I find that so, and then like just going back to what Braxton said earlier, when he goes onto YouTube trying to look for the tattoo experience, it's always about white people talking about their experience. And I think just hearing your stories just makes me value this space even more, because I feel like it's not even talked about enough, because I've never heard about this. And like now I'm like, for me, like now I'm a little more prepared when I walk into a tattoo shop. Like I want to find someone who is queer, someone who is a person of color, who looks like me, who will treat my body and give me the vision that I want for my tattoo. And I hope whoever watches this video can find this too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think you just brought up maybe my fear. Because I think because it's been the representation is so low, it's like, damn, like would this like tattoo even look good on me? Like with this tattoo, is this tattoo for me? Even though I know the tattoo itself is a gorgeous piece. Like when my tattoo artist, and I've been to her so many times, she's done most of my tattoos on my arm. But when I tried it on, and I told you a little bit about it, Al, like I felt like I was no longer looking at my body in a sense of like, I don't want to say disgust, but just like, oh, like this is my body. But like I was looking at my body as like a piece of I don't know, like art and just like expression and beauty and power. But I think that because I've never seen this type of art form, or like even like when I type in chess piece, it's majority white bodies. And I think like the stigma of like Black people having like tattoos is like ghetto or a thug or like a criminal. And so I think that, I don't know, it's just like the separation of like knowing that that tattoo is for me, but um and I hate that because I try not to worry about external forces, but I think it's been so ingrained. But like, um sorry, knowing that the tattoo is for me, but is this tattoo really for me if I've never seen it on a body like mine? Or I guess, yeah. So it's just an interesting relationship. So yeah, I wanted to ask that question for anyone else. So thank you all for answering. Anyone else had anything to add?
Well, for me, I'm not in the place where, I have fear about tattoos necessarily. When I, moved to more visible, like on my hands and stuff, of course, that was like the question of, well, do I want to be a lawyer? Nah. So, that was more that kind of question of like, obviously tattoos in our society, even though they're more accepted than they were in the past, some professions still, look down on it, and you probably wouldn't be able to progress in a certain type of field with visible tattoos. The next step for me is getting my face tattooed. So, with cultural markings from my community and my culture. And so, yes, those had a bit of fear associated with them, but part of it is also like taking that step, because they will be skin stitched. So one of my students is going to be skin stitching some lines on my face. So there is a bit of fear there, but it's I don't know even what that fear is. Maybe I think now that I'm thinking about it, because it's interesting, because sometimes we think when we speak. So I think that's what's happening. As I think about it, as I'm speaking about it, part of that is comes from the story of you know uh, the majority of indigenous folks who have facial markings are women and two-spirit peoples. And so part of that is reclaiming the body, and also not only reclaiming it but standing in that power of like, this is who I am. You can't erase me. You have to recognize me. I'm not going to fit in, and this is me. And so I guess probably that's where a little bit of that maybe hesitance comes. Although, I'm stoked to do it and just waiting for my student to, be in the right place to be able to do that work. So, yeah. And when I first got my first tattoo, there was no fear. It was just like, let's get this done.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
I want to respond
Yeah.
because I know that like for me, my fear is job opportunities. I was talking to a friend slash colleague the other day about how I want to color my hair so badly, but I'm not coloring my hair yet because I don't want that to deter me from getting a job. And so there's two me's at play. Like, I'm all about self-expression, like present yourself authentically, do what you want. Like, that is my personal me who wants to be out there and express myself. But then there's also professional me who is very aware that when I'm looking for a job, as a woman of color, there's already a lot of things against me. And so even something as simple as coloring my hair the way I want, I do have that fear of um, having a job turned down, because, or not having that opportunity taken away from me just because of the way I appear. And the same thing goes with like the way I accessorize, the way I put my septum away. And so just like thinking about tattoos for myself, like, again, I don't have tattoos yet, but I am, when I think about tattoos, I'm thinking about, where do I want it? Do I, and like thinking about the stigmas that were put in my head growing up. Like my community, like women in my community will always say like, oh, look at so and so with a tattoo, now they have to wear long sleeves for the rest of their life, or something like that. And so there's that stuff in my head that I have to think about, like because I am fearful that I won't be accepted in a space for a job. And then, but then another side of me is like, do you really want to work for a place that keeps you from being who you really are? So that's something I struggle with when it comes to getting a tattoo.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. This idea of professionalism is so wild to me. I think also, just to add, like, the fact that people have tattoos and piercings, or even like colored hair, like, shows some type of responsibility that I can take care of this stuff and keep it clean. And I'm like, that's more of a reason to hire someone. I'm like, you're very trustworthy, because if you can take care of a piercings are so hard to take care of. I'm like, you should work for my company. But hopefully we get to that sort of thing soon. I think that now that tattoos and also self-expression in general, and like the natural hair movement and all that, is coming more popular now, and just like mainstream in society. I think hopefully that we will create that space for us, or even hopefully create that space for us and of us. I think that now that we are gaining, even I've seen like people who've had tattoo parlors that's like just all POC, Black and brown people, Indigenous people. And I think that that's the wave I'm hoping that we start moving into, that we no longer have to integrate into a system that no longer wants us, and start creating and blossoming a system that is us, and getting back to our culture and getting back to our identity. So hopefully years from now, we can start doing that. But totally understandable, because like money, unfortunately, we need to survive in this country, and I don't know, it just comes with the cost, I guess. But knock on wood. For my artists here, and then this will be my second to last question. Thank you all again. There is something so beautiful about flash work. How have you implemented your culture or your identity or legacy into your art? If you mind talking a little bit about that.
I guess I can jump in. I talked a little bit about the work that I do, and a lot of the flash work that I have put forward, although I don't do a lot of flash because I do a lot of custom work, but the flash work that I have put together has all been associated with my community or my ancestry. So I do some flash designs associated with my dad's side, the Hungarian part of the paternal line on my dad's side, and then on the maternal line it's Métis, so floral beadwork designs and things like that. And then on the other side is creating designs associated with our basketry, our pictographs, our rock art, things that connect us to who we are and to our land and to our communities and our cultures. And I think this really ties into kind of the conversation we've been having. I hate the word traditional, but it communicates something that we can demarcate a little bit. So, I guess in the ancestral practice, we had a variety of designs for a variety of reasons. One of them simply was to be beautiful, ornamentation. A lot of times we say, I want it to be, it's okay because it's just beautiful, right? Yes, our ancestors did things because they were human beings like us. They did things to be beautiful, right? And then sometimes that was associated with our spirituality, with our guardian spirit quest, our quest into the other realm to find who was going to help us here. Other times it was associated with healing. It's talked about as a medical epistemology, or a medical understanding, to be tattooed in a certain way. And there's academic literature that talks about some of the actual physiological healing aspects that happen with those people who have tattoos. So your immunity is greater the more tattoos you have. And the argument is made that it's like working out, you know, your immunity has to work because it's being, you know, it has to kick in while you're healing those tattoos. And then, you know, sometimes it was associated with, well, you know, I want to, what would you say, almost like a prayer or a reminder to be strong. So, you know, all of those things that we experience today, you know, are the same things that our ancestors or my ancestors did in our cultural practice, you know. So it's just, and I always say that for us today, it's important for us to reinterpret those things for us in the present contemporary moment, because our ancestors didn't have to worry about who they were as an Intakatmuk person. They spoke Intakatmuk language. They had the visual language of our worldview around them. So today we have to worry about who we are and how we fit into this world and how we navigate through the colonial maze. And so, you know, it's just reinterpreting it for our context today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Kind of went on a tangent there, so.
No, please, everyone, please speak whatever's pouring out of your soul. Please let it, because it's gonna resonate. Thank you. Astrid.
Yeah. So I've always struggled with my identity and my culture because I'm half Costa Rican, half Chinese. I was born in Costa Rica, but quickly moved to the US right after. So I've been basically raised here my whole life. And I've not really had much of a chance, other than my mom and speaking Spanish, than to, I don't know if you can hear those sirens, I'm sorry. Yeah, so yeah, just being not so connected to my mother's side and not at all connected to my father's side. I've felt like I guess what I'm trying to say is that I've not really been able to put too much thought into culture and stuff like that when I am designing flash work. And it's sort of like I'm reinventing myself. I think a lot about creating your own traditions. And that's what I really love about tattooing and stuff like that, is like with every artist, there is this sort of like, I guess, tradition that you're creating on someone else's body. Like once you put your work on them, that work will like every single piece that you put on someone is like a part of you, a part of your tradition. I just remember like seeing my mom, her tattoos, and she has these really cool tattoos. And they're in a very specific style. Like I've never seen anything like it. And that's kind of something that I've been thinking about lately with my work, how I want to kind of create something. Nothing is ever completely new, but create something very individualistic and something I can call my own.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
That just reminds me, my friend Julia Mungyao Gray, who is a Papua New Guinean skin marker. She tattoos culturally, and she talks about, she uses the phrase, and I always, credit her for this phrase is, we are the new old. So, today we are doing things that tomorrow will be the old. So, it's just that same idea that, I guess the reason I share that is because what you said really resonates with who I am and with, the work that I do as well, in terms of, creating that new space, that new tradition today. So thank you for sharing that. Pretty cool.
Sure. I loved hearing you say that. That's awesome. New old.
Yeah, we are the new old. Wow. So my last question for you all is, and I know we touched a little bit about it, but in case someone had another one or wanted to express a little bit more, I know Al, if you wish to share what you shared with me via text, but sort of the pros and cons of having tattoos. Is there pros and cons? I know we touched a little bit about it today, but if there's anything else anyone wishes to share.
I'll go. I feel like the pros of having tattoos are feeling agency over your body, feeling like that you have control over your body, that your body is yours. It's the way that you want it to look. I think that a con could just be anxiety, just about the permanency of the tattoos, the pain, which is obviously very fleeting or very temporary, and then just the having to deal with people's perception of you after you get certain tattoos. But that's not really a con because it's not really other people's perception isn't doesn't really have anything to do with you. But that could be a con.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Oh, sorry, Dion, you can go.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, very much so resonating with what Micah had stated. The pros of getting tattoos is that you do get to have that agency over your body. You are able to express yourself for who you are, and people can see that. That also can be a con, because then some people are going to be like, well, what's that mean? They might question your tattoos, and you might get tired of always having to say like what your tattoos mean. With that, I always like to tell people, you can just be like, I like it. Like, you can just tell them like, because I like it. And that's kind of where I've gotten, because it gets very exhausting having to always spill that energy out, because sometimes you want to hold it for yourself. You got it for yourself, you want to keep it to yourself sometimes, and share it when like you feel called to. Another con is that, and personal experience, you might really like an idea when you first get it, and then a couple years down the road and you're like, I've grown a little bit since then, and I really wish I would have done something a little bit more different. So if you are planning on getting something, and I more so want to say this for people that are younger, that are getting their first tattoos, it's like your first couple of tattoos, really make sure that this, because it is going to be on your body for a long period of time, that it's going to age well with you. You don't want to get a tattoo that you're going to grow out of, and then you're going to be like, well shit, I kind of got it on my body now. And within that could also be something that you work with, to where you're just like, you know what, I got it, I can either keep it and like try and makeshift it into something else, because that's what I did with this, what I'm doing with this one, or you can, actually sit with yourself and be like, do I want to go ahead and go through the process of lasering this off? So that's more so of like what I like to tell for younger people. And I would also say, again, pain, mental aspect of it, know going in that like, yeah, you're gonna feel some pain, but don't let that completely stop you and like take over the experience, because it can be very liberating. It can be very, very healing. It can show you a lot about yourself, your resilience, your inner strength, and it could be a really great way for you to connect with like your ancestors, your spirit guides, your spirit team, your highest self, like, your animal guides that are working with you. Like, you can just have these really amazing out of body experiences while getting tattoos, when you learn how to detach from that physicalness of it. So that's all I have to say.
Awesome, thank you. Dion?
Yeah, I guess I'll just riff on what you said, because I forgot whatever else I was gonna say. So, but yeah, again, just share, I guess, more to share for folks who are maybe watching and go through that same struggle of people asking, well, what does that mean? Or, why did you get that? All of that stuff. Again, my friend Julia says, when people ask, well, what does that mean? And of course, as you shared that, sometimes depending on the situation, but if she's in a situation that she doesn't want to share, she'll simply say, it means everything to me and nothing to you. It's just such a powerful, such a powerful, powerful statement. And so that's just something to put out there, and also to, empower people. And I guess the reason I say that is to empower people to take ownership of who they are. You don't owe anything to anyone who asks. Just because somebody asks something doesn't mean you're obligated to answer it. So just own who you are and take agency over that part of who you are. And, you don't have to say anything. It is part of your body and part of who you are. And sometimes those things are sacred. And some people ask, and I'll just say, well, I don't feel comfortable sharing this with you because it's a very personal thing. And, if we were, maybe had some type of friendship or relationship, I could share the story of that design or that tattoo, but it's not really something I'm comfortable sharing. So just, I guess tips more than anything from, the journey that I've had with being tattooed and speaking to a lot of tattooed people and a lot of cultural folks who are working and wearing ancestral marks.
Awesome. Thank you. I wanted to share a friend who couldn't be here right now, welcome him into the space. My friend Andre, he wanted to share a little bit about his pros and cons and also some life advice that leads us into our final and last question. So his story was, I got my first tattoos at 21. I wanted them probably as early as 16 or 17, but was discouraged by my dad, who thought they would appear unprofessional under the standards of the industry in which I wanted to work. Even back then, I thought, quote, but I wouldn't be defined by my tattoos. I can be a doctor with tattoos, and it doesn't matter whether or not my patients will see them, but I waited anyway. I got my first one, and like most people, got the bug. I went back to the same artist and got two more the following week. The first one of in abstract drawing, shapes, lines, dots, because I view my body as a canvas, not necessarily a blank one, but one waiting to be filled in an intentional way. My other two are a take on a strategy and comedy mask for my passion and career, and the phrase be kind, a reminder for those who see it and for myself. Overall, I just see tats as a way to celebrate, decorate, commemorate, and educate. My advice: get whatever you want, wherever you want. Let it be meaningful by your standards, not society's. To non Black and brown artists, please stop asking clients with darker skin if they, quote, really want color. So, my last and final question, if you all feel willing, is any life advice for our audience? Any final words, whether related to tattooing or not?
I would say related to tattooing, absolutely go for it. Once you start getting tattoos, it sort of becomes like, oh my God, I want tattoos all over my body. And I want that for everyone else. I want that feeling that I have now. Like when we've been doing this, I've been thinking, what other tattoos can I get this weekend? Um, so I would, anybody who's thinking about it, go for it. It's your body. Nobody else is ever gonna live in your body. Um, so go for it, I would say.
Anyone else?
Um, I would say, I think in terms of like starting tattooing, I used to feel very discouraged starting hand poking because I was referred to as a scratcher. And I was just disrespected in many ways because people instantly think that for some reason, like hand poking is just something that belongs in like prison tats, means that you have no education or something like that. I don't know, or that you don't know what you're doing. And I think as long as are educated, like on this topic, the rules that like regulations of like how to safely tattoo people, not reusing needles, not using just like the end of a sewing needle or things like that. Unless you want to do that to yourself, that's fine. Doing that on other people. I just feel like if you are taking all the precautions and really willing to do all of like that practice and things like that, pay no disregard, just disregard people who want to call you whatever names or things like that in the tattoo industry. Do what you want to do, and also just tattoo your body if you want to really do it and you're prepared for those judgments and things like that. I think something about I think to the previous questions of cons and pros and cons, a con for a lot of people is that they would be judged. but in my opinion, that has been a pro. It's like kind of releasing that, I mentioned that before, but like releasing the expectation. Like if, like I have a tattoo that's visible now, and I've sort of already just given up trying to measure up to anybody's expectations of how I should be behaving or looking in society. So that's like really freeing. Like if you just do that, for yourself, I think you'll start to gain that confidence in being your own person and living for your own self.
Thank you. All right.
Basically echoing what Astrid said. But I do want to say women of color bodies are policed at such a young and early age that our inner child and being is suppressed. And all I want to say is our inner child is in there and is ready to break free. Stop listening to the world and start listening to your inner child and taking care of them. Because for me, I haven't found anything more freeing than taking care of my inner child. And yeah, and I also just want to say thank you, Braxton, for this space, because it has given me so much knowledge to be prepared for when I do get my first tattoo. And I know this will help the audience you are seeking to help. And this space has given me enough confidence to finally get the tattoo I've been wanting. And I think I might head out and get one right after this. So we'll see. We'll see.
Thank you for those beautiful words. When you're saying the first part, it brought me to, I used to love going to the 25, or actually it was 50 cents to $1, the tattoo coin things. And then I would stick all the tattoos on my arms. I would have it everywhere as a child. So it's beautiful seeing my inner child express itself now. So thank you for that. That was beautiful. And also thank you for your words, sending strength, healing, good healing, and patience and expression your way for when you decide to do that. Once again, thank you all. Wow, such an honor and such a privilege. Some people couldn't make it at the last minute, so sending them love. And yes, good wishes. So once again, thank you all for joining in for Brax Will Let You Know. Thank you, guests. Thank you. Wishing you well on your journeys. And this has been Brax Will Let You Know, where we are using the voices in this world for the change we need in the world. And we shall see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.